You settle into your seat, buckle up, and it hits you. This isn't a flight, it's 14 hours in a flying box, only with worse food. The space is tight, the air is dry, and everything around you feels borrowed. Sound familiar? But here's the good part. It doesn't have to be that way. With the right choices, you can step off that plane feeling tired, sure, but not wrecked. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. No upgrades, no magic passes, just smart moves that seasoned travelers swear by. Stick with me until the end, because even one small change could save you hours of misery. And it all starts before the wheels ever leave the runway. Because once you're stuck in the wrong seat, every other trick, snacks, headphones, neck pillows, only goes so far. That's why the first move that matters is simple: your seat. The seat doesn't just determine comfort, it decides whether this feels like a flight or a hostage situation. Pick the wrong one and you'll spend 14 hours wedged between strangers wishing you'd just driven. Most economy tickets let you choose a seat as soon as online check-in opens. The catch? Timing. Some airlines open it 24 hours out, others 48. Wait too long and the good spots vanish. So set that alarm like you're snagging front row concert tickets, not drifting in with boarding group C. And don't just click the first open square on the seat map. Use tools like AeroLOPA to see which rows don't recline, which seats are stuck next to the galley, and which spots secretly come with extra space. Window seats are lifesavers if you're planning to sleep, no foot traffic, and you've got something to lean against. Aisles are better if you like stretching or moving around. Exit rows give you space, but you'll lose underseat storage and get stiff armrests. And the underrated choice? Back row seats that still recline. Nobody behind you to complain when you lean back. Bottom line, comfort starts with the seat you claim. Nail that decision and the entire flight shifts in your favor. And if that feels like insider knowledge, wait until you hear the next trick. It's one most people never pack, but it can change the way you land. You know that moment, mid-flight, when you stand up for the bathroom and your legs feel like they've been shrink-wrapped? You shuffle down the aisle like a robot, ankles stiff, wondering how you just aged 30 years somewhere over the Pacific. That's when compression socks flip the script. They don't look stylish, but slip them on and suddenly your legs stop plotting revenge. It's like sneaking a cheat code into economy travel. Here's the bonus most people don't realize. They're heaters in disguise. At 35,000 feet, the cabin turns into a freezer. Warm feet trick your body into feeling like everything is more comfortable. Flight crews even joke they can tell who packed socks. Those passengers are the ones knocked out asleep halfway through the flight. The rest? Curled up, clutching that scratchy airline blanket like it's their last hope. Frequent flyers know this. You'll see them boarding, tugging on compression socks right after takeoff. Not for fashion points, but because they've learned the hard way. Landing with legs that feel normal is worth every ounce of prep. So toss a pair in your bag. Put them on before you board. Forget about them until you land. Your legs will thank you. They'll feel lighter, looser, setting you up perfectly for the next move. Because once your feet are protected, the real question is, how do you keep the rest of your body from locking up when you're crammed in that seat for hours? That's where movement, even small movements, changes everything. Compression socks keep your legs from swelling, but they can't fix everything. If you sit frozen for 10 straight hours, your body will let you know, loudly. The good news? Just a little movement changes the story. Get it right and you'll land looser, lighter, and far less cranky. That's why smart flyers sneak motion into their flights. No need for squats in the aisle, you don't have to become that passenger. But standing, stretching, and walking to the galley every so often makes a huge difference. On my last trip to London, I forced myself to get up every 2 hours. Even if it was just to refill my water bottle, by the time we landed, I wasn't the one limping toward customs. Stuck in a window seat? You're not doomed. Tiny moves still work. Flex your toes, circle your ankles, lift one knee at a time. It's stealth exercise. Nobody notices, but your circulation does. Instead of scrolling past the wellness section on your seatback screen, actually give it a look. Some airlines slip in short routines that seem like filler until you've been sitting for 10 hours and your spine feels like a question mark. I once followed along with a 2-minute stretch video on a Delta red eye. It reset my whole body enough to actually fall asleep afterward. Think of movement as in-flight medicine. Keep your joints awake now, and you'll sleep far better later. Which brings us to the next challenge: sleep. How do you actually get decent shut-eye in economy without waking up every 20 minutes? Here's the truth. The people who get rest in economy don't actually sleep better than the rest of us. They just know how to set the stage. Small adjustments that add up. Start with your seat. Those headrests aren't just decoration. Most have little wings you can bend inward. Fold them in and suddenly your head stops bobbing like one of those dashboard toys. That free pillow? Forget your neck. Slide it behind your lower back. Suddenly the seat shifts from torture device to, okay, I can survive this. Tiny tweaks, big payoff. Here's one most passengers miss. Check under your armrest. Many have a hidden button that lets it lift. Pop it up and you've got more room to lean, or even share space better with your travel buddy. Now bring in your own tools. A travel pillow tucked under your chin beats the embarrassing head bob. A real eye mask, not the napkin on Elastic Airlines handout, shuts the world down. And a big scarf. That's your Swiss Army travel tool. Blanket, privacy curtain, neck warmer, all in one. Here's a sneaky trick a flight attendant once showed me. After takeoff, slide your personal bag out and rest it behind your calves. It's safer than tossing it overhead, and it doubles as a footrest. I tried it on a 10-hour JFK to Heathrow flight, and by the time we landed, my legs felt like I'd flown premium economy. Best part? Nobody noticed. My own secret upgrade hidden in plain sight. Stack a few of these moves together, and suddenly economy sleep goes from impossible to I actually got a few hours. You finally doze off. Neck pillow in place. Eye mask down. Headphones humming soft white noise. And then tap, tap. A flight attendant nudges your arm for a seatbelt check. Or worse, wakes you up to ask if you want chicken or pasta when all you want is peace. Annoying? Definitely. Preventable? Absolutely. The fix is laughably simple. Just buckle your seatbelt over your blanket or jacket, not under it. It looks a little odd, but the crew instantly sees you're strapped in. No need to wake you. I learned this on an overnight flight to Lisbon. The woman next to me did it, slept through everything while I got tapped awake 3 times. She landed refreshed. I looked like I'd survived boot camp. One more move most people never think about. If you plan to skip a meal, lower your tray table before closing your eyes. That way, the crew can set your tray down quietly, or just roll past, without shaking you awake. Forget once, and you'll know exactly what I mean. I woke mid-dream to a hot foil lid practically in my lap. Not my proudest travel moment. Do both. Seatbelt on top, tray down if you're skipping dinner, and suddenly your short nap becomes real, unbroken rest. In economy, that's as close to first-class sleep as you're going to get. Close your eyes on any long haul and just listen. An infant warming up their vocal cords, an engine humming like a lawnmower next door, a seatmate laughing too loudly at a sitcom, and somewhere in the back, a snore strong enough to make the Richter scale twitch. It's less like an airplane and more like trying to nap in the middle of a food court. That's where noise-canceling headphones change everything. I once flew Chicago to Frankfurt next to a guy blasting an action movie straight from his laptop speakers. The entire row suffered. Until I slipped on my noise-canceling headset, hit play on some lo-fi beats, and the chaos collapsed into silence. Same flight, same cabin, but suddenly it felt like I'd stolen a tiny pocket of business class. Don't want the bulk? Earplugs can be stealth magic, if you know the trick. A fellow traveler once showed me the roll insert hold method. Compress the foam, slide it in, hold for 10 seconds while it expands. Suddenly, the roar of the cabin turns into a hush, so soft you almost forget you're in economy. Some frequent flyers even stack the two. Earplugs inside, light headphones on top, looks a little funny, works brilliantly. And here's the real payoff. When you're not battling noise for 10 straight hours, you step off calmer, sharper, and far more patient. Quiet in the sky isn't luxury, it's survival. But sound is only half the fight. Even if you nail the silence, the wrong food or drink can still make your body rebel before you land. On a long flight, what you eat and drink decides whether you arrive ready to explore or stumble off desperate for a nap. Get it wrong, and the cabin becomes a long, uncomfortable ride you can't escape. Let's start with food. Airline trays always seem to roll out at the worst possible time. Midnight pasta, dawn curry. A friend once told me about a Chicago-Tokyo flight where the guy next to her devoured not just his meal, but his partner's too. 6 hours later, he was pacing the aisle, clutching his stomach. Meanwhile, she pulled out a simple sandwich she brought from home. Guess who felt better at immigration? The rule is simple. Skip the heavy stuff. Greasy meals, salty snacks, or eggs at odd hours will leave you bloated and uncomfortable for hours. Stick to light, low-salt foods you already know your stomach likes. A plain sandwich, a handful of unsalted nuts, maybe a soft granola bar, and don't count on the free snacks. Crackers and chips only dry you out more in cabin air that's already drier than the desert. Now drinks. A viewer once shared how she had 2 glasses of wine before a late-night flight to Europe. The result? 7 hours of headache and 0 sleep. Alcohol and caffeine both rob your body of water. At the exact moment it needs hydration most. The smarter play is simple. Water. Not just the occasional sip, but a steady rhythm. About 1 cup every hour, or 1 glass every 60 to 90 minutes. It sounds like a lot, but when you spread it out across the flight, it keeps your body balanced, your skin less dry, and your energy steady. Want a small upgrade? Toss in an electrolyte packet once or twice. It's like hitting a reset button midair. Eat light, drink smart, and you'll step off the plane feeling human, not like a sponge that's been wrung dry. What about you? Ever had a mid-flight food or drink disaster? Share the story, because those are often the best lessons for everyone else. Holding your phone for 10 straight hours? Forget it. Your wrists will give out before the flight attendants even roll out the drinks cart. The smarter move is simple. Turn that flimsy tray table into your own private movie screen. And the hacks? Surprisingly clever. A pop socket on the back of your phone instantly becomes a stand. Simple, solid. No pop socket? Flip your sunglasses upside down, and suddenly you've invented the aviator theater. Some travelers even hang a clear plastic bag from the tray latch, drop the phone inside, and voila, budget seatback screen. And yes, that viral TikTok trick with the airsick bag wedged behind your phone case, it actually works. Looks silly, works great. But here's the real upgrade. Save content just for the flight. I call it the flight-only stash. That new show you've been waiting for? Don't touch it. That podcast everyone's talking about? Resist the play button. When you finally hit play at 35,000 feet, your brain associates economy with something special you've been craving. Suddenly, Coach feels like your own personal movie night. I've even parked a whole season of Game of Thrones until takeoff. Then I pour a little mint tea from my bag, unwrap a few TSA-friendly snacks, and it feels less like survival and more like a guilty pleasure. So don't just brace for boredom. Build your entertainment system before you board. And speaking of smart tools, let's talk about why a simple thermos might be the smartest upgrade in your carry-on. At airport security, the same thing always happens. Passengers clutching empty bottles, ready to fill them at a gate fountain. It works, but it's basic. Swap that bottle for a wide-mouth thermos, and you unlock an upgrade most people never think of. Here's why. A good thermos pulls double duty. It keeps water icy cold for hours, or hot drinks steaming like you just poured them. A friend of mine brought peppermint tea on a midnight Boston to London Hall. She poured herself a cup mid-flight, and the whole row leaned over like, wait, how did you score that? Meanwhile, I was stuck with a lukewarm plastic cup the cabin crew handed me 20 minutes after takeoff. And the galley's hot water? That's your hidden bonus. With a thermos, you're not just limited to tea. You can make instant soup or oatmeal at 3 in the morning when the cabin feels endless. Trust me, nothing confuses your seatmate faster than you digging into hot miso while they stare down another packet of stale pretzels. But here's where the thermos really shines. The size. Instead of rationing 3 sips from a flimsy cup, you've got a proper supply. I once watched a guy balancing 4 half-full cups of water on his tray. 2 slid off in turbulence. 1 soaked his crossword puzzle, and the last ended up in his lap. Across the aisle, another passenger calmly sipped from his thermos and went back to his movie like nothing happened. That's the difference. Chaos versus control. Bring a thermos on board, and you'll step off hydrated, calmer, and maybe even a little smug. Like you outsmarted the entire system. And speaking of outsmarting, the next move is about keeping your most important stuff close, without climbing over strangers every time you need something. One of the biggest rookie mistakes? Stuffing everything into the overhead bin. Then 3 hours in, you realize that the thing you actually want, your book, your charger, your snacks, is locked away. Now you're forced into that awkward aisle yoga, climbing over two people just to yank your bag down. And congratulations, you've just become everyone's least favorite passenger. The fix is a simple survival kit bag that lives under the seat in front of you. Not a second carry-on, just a small pouch or soft tote with your must-have items. Headphones, lip balm, snacks, charger, maybe even a toothbrush. Think of it as your in-flight command center. On my very first long haul, I didn't know this rule. I put everything overhead. Hours later, I was clambering up and down the aisle for a snack, then a book, then my hoodie. By hour 5, I was exhausted. And by hour 10, I was officially that annoying passenger disturbing everyone. Now, I never fly without a small kit at my feet. The trick? Choose something soft and flexible so it doesn't steal legroom. Bonus points if it has 2 or 3 compartments. One big zipper pouch is a recipe for torture. You'll end up digging around like you're searching for a prize at the bottom of a cereal box. Lesson learned. Pocket save sanity. Set up your in-flight kit and suddenly you're organized, calm, and way less like you're living out of a suitcase midair. There's something most passengers don't realize until halfway through the flight: the air in the cabin. It's unbelievably dry. Your nose feels like sandpaper, your lips crack, and your skin feels tight and irritated. But you don't have to just put up with it. For your nose, here's a simple but effective trick. Pack a cotton swab and a little balm or ointment. When the dryness kicks in, a light dab inside each nostril calms everything down. Strange? Sure. But it works. I tried this after hearing about a traveler who stopped mid-flight nosebleeds on a Denver-Munich haul using the same trick. I went from sneezing nonstop to feeling completely fine in minutes. Now, let's talk about something many travelers overlook: medication. Follow the 48-hour rule. Anything you might need in the next 2 days should never go in checked luggage. Keep it in your carry-on, ideally in that small underseat kit. Because flights get delayed, bags go missing, and sometimes your suitcase decides to take its own trip. The last place you want to be without meds is stuck in customs or during a layover at midnight with no pharmacy open. Want to land feeling fresh? Create a mini refresh kit and use it before descent. Toothbrush and paste, a few wipes, lip balm, hand cream, a light moisturizer. For women, even a spare pair of underwear or a liner can be a game changer. 5 minutes in the lavatory, and you emerge looking like you've actually slept, even if you didn't. Now, clothes. The cabin isn't a fashion runway. It's a pressurized tube where the temperature jumps from freezing cold to overheated in minutes. That stylish outfit you wore at check-in. 3 hours later, you're regretting every tight seam. The pros know this. Layers always win. Start with breathable joggers or loose pants. Add a soft t-shirt. Top it with a hoodie or a zip-up jacket for flexibility. And the secret weapon? A lightweight scarf. It's a blanket, a neck warmer, a pillow, even an eye mask if you need one. One item that solves 5 problems. Here's what not to wear: skinny jeans, stiff belts, outfits overloaded with zippers and hardware. They don't just trap you in your seat. They make airport security a nightmare. On a long flight, fashion that doubles as torture gear is the last thing you want. Want a secret edge? Pack a quick change kit. Fresh socks, clean underwear, maybe a light shirt. Change about an hour before landing, and it feels like you just reset your body. I've seen people shuffle off a 12-hour flight looking wrecked, while others who did a 5-minute change looked fresh, calm, and ready for selfies. Bathroom strategy matters too. Airplane lavatories are like amusement park rides. Everyone rushes at the same time. Seatbelt sign-off, stampede, 2 hours after meals, conga line. But smart flyers zig when others zag. Use the restroom before boarding when you're still in the terminal. It's cleaner and bigger. Once in the air, go when the food carts block the aisles. Everyone else is stuck. The result? Empty bathroom, no waiting. And then there's flying with kids. Picture it. A parent wrestling a stroller, a diaper bag, and a toddler who suddenly decides the floor is lava. By the time they get to their seat, snacks are flying, the child's wailing, and everyone nearby is silently begging for noise-canceling headphones. But then, the parent whips out a soft toy or familiar snack, and suddenly the chaos melts away. That's the trick. Kids don't need luxury, they need home comforts. A stuffed animal hugged 1,000 times. Crackers they always eat. Those little pieces of routine matter more than anything. But here's where parents win the most: pacing themselves. Tag team shifts, trading breaks, giving each adult 10 minutes to recharge. Families who do this stay calmer, and kids sense the calm too. Flying with kids won't ever be flawless, but with patience, humor, and a little prep, it can actually be fun. The journey becomes part of the adventure, and after all of that comes the final enemy: jet lag. It doesn't care if you're 25 or 65, the time zone shift can wreck anyone. But seasoned travelers don't just hope, they prepare. Start a few days before your trip. Shift your sleep schedule closer to your destination. Earlier if you're flying east, later if you're heading west. Once you're on the plane, reset everything. Change your phone and watch. Eat and sleep on local time. It tricks your brain into adjusting faster. On red eyes, use every tool you can. Noise-canceling headphones, eye mask, maybe even some melatonin if it works for you. Want extra precision? There are apps, like Timeshifter or Uplift, that map out exactly when to nap, when to seek light, and when to avoid it. It sounds intense, but frequent flyers swear it works. Jet lag isn't unbeatable. It's just a puzzle. With smart hydration, small schedule tweaks, and a little discipline, you land ready to explore instead of collapse. And in the end, nobody remembers the cramped seat or the dry cabin air. They remember the moment their feet hit the ground. That's the memory that matters. Make sure it feels like the beginning of an adventure, not the end of a survival test, because that's the secret. Long-haul economy isn't about luck. It's about stacking the right choices. From the seat you grab to the snacks you pack, every move changes the ride. And if just one of these fixes saves you from aching knees, a dry throat, or a sleepless night, then guess what? You've already won.